Wednesday, the 16th of March. Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Karen Liddle. I'm one of the elders in Easton Old Church in Forfar. And as you know, Barbara Ann has asked some of the elders to lead the Wednesday reflection online. So today, it's my turn. When I was thinking about this reflection and what I would talk about, I had a particular well-known line from a very famous poem in my head, but I wasn't too sure of exactly its origins. So I Googled it and I wasn't surprised to see it came from a poem by Robert Burns, To a Louse or To a Louse. Well, you all know Barbara Ann hates Burns poetry, so maybe I'm not going to be allowed to take any more reflections in the future. But I'd like to take the opportunity now to read the last verse of that poem to you. O wad some power the gift to gie us, to see ourselves as others see us. It wad frae money a blunder free us, and foolish notion. What airs and dress and gait wad lee us, and e'en devotion. To see ourselves as others see us. What does that actually mean? If you were sitting in church on Sunday, or you're at your desk at your work, or you're down at the bowling club, or you're sitting in the pub, or you're at the gym, or you're doing your weekly shop in the local supermarket, how do other people see you? What do they think of you? In the poem, Burns is talking about how a well-to-do lady is sitting in the church, all dressed up in her finery and her Sunday best, when a louse comes crawling out of her hat. As the people around her notice and start to smile, point, nod, she mistakenly thinks they're smiling and nodding in approval of her beautiful hat. Little does she realise they're actually laughing at her and disgusted by the louse crawling around. Burns muses in her vanity, she thinks perhaps herself a cut above the rest because of her wealth, her social standing, her fine clothes, whilst it be of little surprise to see a louse crawling out of a poor person's clothes and hat, where they maybe have dirty, ragged clothes. But the louse doesn't see any different. To him, we're all human. There's no distinction of class or wealth. We're all the same in their eyes, just as we're all the same in God's eyes. There's no hiding the truth from him. There's no hiding behind fancy clothes or airs and graces. He knows us all and he treats us all equally. We're all God's children, after all. If your best friend or someone who knows you really well or a family member were asked to describe you, 3 words to describe you, what would they say? Would they say the same as your work colleagues, who probably know you better than anyone else because you may spend more time with them than your own family? What about the people who sit along from you in church on a Sunday? Or that checkout assistant at the supermarket that you see every week when you go to pay for your shopping? Or the old man in the pub? What would they say about you? How do they see you? Would they all say the same thing? And would it be the same as how you would describe yourself? Or would their perceptions be different? Do people see us differently? Do they see us the way we want ourselves to be seen? This made me think of an old comedy series from the 1990s. You might remember it. It was called Keeping Up Appearances, and it starred Patricia Routledge and Clive Swift as Mr. and Mrs. Bucket, or as the wife liked to call it, Bouquet, and she used to pronounce her name Mrs. Bouquet. Hyacinth Bouquet was a terrible snob, and she was very conscious of being seen as middle class and important and an honourable person, a wealthy, honourable person. But really, she was just like you and I. She was a normal person in a normal house, but she liked to put on airs and graces. to make herself seem better. What is the persona that we display to other people? How do we project ourselves in the community? Is it obvious from our actions and our words that we are actually Christians? How do we show this? We all have different roles in the church and in our lives, and these roles can sometimes define us, even though they shouldn't. And we all know that we're all much more than just one role. Let's have a think. If I said to you, Reverend Barbara Ann, how would you define her? The first thing most people would say is, she's the minister. And people are very often defined by their jobs. But she's not just a minister. She has many roles. To Billy, she's his wife. She's Finlay's granny. And she's mum to Scott and Joanne. And she's also a sister, a friend, a work colleague, a team member, a leader, a counsellor, a singer, a baker, Girls' Brigade member, and all sorts of other roles. If I think about how people view me and see me and the roles that I play, I would say, firstly, I'm a daughter and a sister and an auntie before all else. As my family are almost all local to Forfar, and particularly my dad's side are quite well known in the town, many people regard me as David's daughter. I remember the first time I spoke to a member of the church a few years ago now, and this lady asked my name. And when I told her, you could see the cogs whirring in her head. And she asked me if I was related to David Liddell. And I said, yes, that's my dad. And she said to me, I taught your dad in primary 4. He was very good at maths. But that had been over 50 years since then, and she still remembered. And I will always be known to her as David's daughter. People are often defined by their job, and I'm also known for being a teacher. Several thousand young people over the past 15 years have known me as Señorita Liddell, the Spanish teacher. They've even asked me on occasions if I'm actually Spanish or French, and I have to disappoint them and say, no, I'm just from Forfar. In the church, I have the role of elder and leader of the twinning group, and I'm a youth leader. That says a lot about who I am. I like everything international and language related. I like meeting people from abroad. I like working with young people, and I'd like to say I'm quite responsible, but others would probably say I'm bossy. Whatever our roles in our family and in the community, what do the roles we play and our actions say about us? Do the people we meet see the real us, or just see what they want to see, or what we want them to see? What really matters, though, is how God sees us. God knows us inside out, and he knows the roles that we play. So let's not be like the lady in the poem who thinks everyone's impressed by her, when actually they're laughing at her. Let's think carefully about how others may see us and our roles that we have in our life. Let everyone know we're Christians by our actions and our words, and let's live out our faith through our actions and be positive role models for others. Have a lovely week, everyone.